Oh, nervous.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Welcome to Scussion, where we discuss weekly news, major news in ASEAN and in the world. But we also discuss hot topics in ASEAN and in the world as well. So, besides today, we will also try to tackle the problems of nursing homes, especially ones that are shitty. Obviously, the fancy ones are quite nice. We'll go through all of that. And you have me first and Joshua as always. Sometimes we'll have some other people. Anyway, let's start with the news. I will share my screen. Actually, maybe we don't have to. So for the news, actually I will share my screen. That actually is better. Otherwise, my thoughts will get lost. So I think today, not today, this week, we had a lot of things about TikTok once again and ongoing tension in the between the US and China and all of that. But today we will start with what is it? It's the TikTok one. One moment.
Oh, you have a lot of tabs, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know where it is. Anyway, it's all right. I can talk it through. So what's going on
No,
is
no,
that
just. Do you want to go find it first? This is like
okay,
it's
okay.
somewhere there.
Can
Yeah.
it's on 7 March, which is today. It's yeah, I found it. Thanks. So a lot of people have been ongoing about TikTok. The Biden administration now is urging Congress to give his administration more power to deal with TikTok, and this is because in the past, right, it's tried to talk with ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, privately, but it hasn't really made much progress. Yeah. What do you think about this one?
That's interesting. So, why do you think ByteDance doesn't want to like agree, come to an agreement with the US? That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't even know what they are
Talking
discussing.
about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I know that they have made like some concessions, right? So some concessions like, oh, instead of having the data centers in China, they have the data centers in the US. And then the
Yeah.
data center is also not operated by ByteDance. I think it's by Oracle, maybe. It's a US based firm that holds the data of the users. So that's pretty nice. But
Yeah.
I don't know what else the US wants, man, because on the other hand, it seems like a witch hunt where they just want more and more from TikTok. And I don't know what else TikTok can give.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of how it is, right? Because TikTok's
Mm-hmm.
like the big social media thing from China that's infiltrated the rest of the world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think they're just not happy about that in
Mm.
general. It also might be like because they're kind of anti-China, right? So
Mm-hmm.
right
Yeah,
now,
yeah, exactly. And if you look into stuff on the screen here, right? We listed out that TikTok's been banned in one shape or the other across the world in the world. So you have like United States already banned it from state employees. I get that point. India already banned it in 2020 due to privacy and security concern. I think it's also because of the
question. Why do you
yeah
get that point? Well, why does that make sense to you?
um
The U.S. banning state employees.
because a lot of them have this fear, which may be irrational or maybe it's completely justified that the Chinese government is stealing data in one form or the other, and then it managed to send data across back to China somehow.
So basically,
So
they don't buy the whole data stays in the U.S. thing.
so it's like 20 states. Obviously, some of them more like conventional states, traditional ones. So they already banned those. Oh
On,
sorry. On the side note, I don't see the streaming on our thing.
on which one? On Twitch?
Yeah, on Twitch.
I see it.
Oh, you see it? Okay.
You need to refresh maybe. I can see
Okay,
it
okay.
there.
Okay, then it's fine. Yeah,
Did you
sorry.
change the name or you didn't?
I haven't because I couldn't see the thing.
Oh, refresh it. I think you probably need to change it. Then.
I still haven't seen it.
I can look.
Yeah, maybe you have to change it. Yeah, I don't see it on my end. Mm, yeah, I still don't see it.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see it.
Okay.
As in, wait, are you logged in
Yeah,
to
I am
your
logged
account?
into the main account actually. The cannot register Twitch name.
No, then I don't. I can see it as a non. Uh, I'm not logged in, but I can
Ah,
see it.
okay. But normally I should be able to see it, but I don't. But anyway, it's all right. We'll
All right, sure.
yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. So you can see that Taiwan's already imposed a ban. I think this one makes sense with all the tension. The EU also banned it from its employees, the government stuff. Yeah, so a lot of government authorities banned it from different countries. Last one is the Taliban.
Yeah, I found
Yeah,
it funny.
yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't know that the Taliban used TikTok, but it was interesting to see.
You know
Yeah.
the thought when I saw what was written there, I was like, holy shit. That means I'm just imagining Taliban like teenagers doing TikTok
Yeah,
dance.
yeah, it's a weird thing to see. Yeah, no, but it's just ongoing with this war thing.
Mm,
Okay, moving on to the other one is the Indonesia capital. One moment while I try to find the article. So for the Indonesian new capital, right? The maybe I pronounced the name wrong, but it's called. Mm, sorry, what is it called? Nusantara. Yeah, and
the new
we
capital.
yeah. Let me try to see if there's photos. Okay, it's not on this one. Yeah, it's on this one. Hmm. Sorry. Obviously, it's not built yet, so you see only like empty lands and shit. And what I find interesting about the concept of new capital is that it's such a big project because you don't
Mm,
hear a lot of like, oh, let's build a new capital, right? But I'll give you some context as well on why they building it. Mm, so for people who don't know, Jakarta is very overcrowded, massive polluted traffic. So I think about 30 million people live there. So it's very crowded, as I said. And the problem with Jakarta is that it's one of the it has the highest rate for sinking each year. So each year the city sinks a little bit, and I think by I can't remember what year, but let me check if I have the stats. Yeah, I don't have the stats by, but in 20, 30 years, the city will sink enough that it becomes dangerous for the residents. So that's why a lot of people are just trying to like move away from Jakarta, and then it also has really bad quality of life in a lot of regards. For example, trash collection system, um, where the system is so bad that people have to burn the trash, which also worsens the pollution there, and then make the air quality as bad as New Delhi or Beijing. So that's why the guy Joko Widodo. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, but he has a nickname. Jokowi is the nickname. Yeah, so Jokowi is trying to move the new capital, and he started that in 2019, where he announced it. And this is his last term as well. And the new capital will be moved quite far away, where there's less earthquake as well. So it's not on the active fault lines. When you look at it, so there won't be a lot of natural disasters that Jakarta is experiencing, and it's just a massive city. And then the plan is to move all the government, not all, most government agencies there by 2024 or 25. I think 2025, and then slowly moving other parts of businesses there. So yeah, I think before I talk further, what do you think of the concept of moving to the new capital?
I think it makes sense. I think it
Mm,
completely makes sense. Yeah, but I think it's important to let people know that
mm,
like Jakarta sinking isn't actually due to climate change. It's most likely not due to it.
mm.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
what from what I read. Yeah.
yeah. It's actually due to the people taking too much groundwater,
Mm,
and with shit tons of people, it makes sense. And that's actually similar to Thailand as well. I'm not sure about water system in Indonesia, but in Thailand we can't drink water from the tap compared to people from Singapore or other developed countries, right? So we need to either have water filtering system in our house, which is expensive as fuck, or we use we drain the water from groundwater, which is what my family does in our hometown. So if you have a lot of people doing that, then yeah,
What is the
fucked.
process? Because I don't know what it means by when you say drain from groundwater. So how does
Ah,
that work?
right, right. Yeah, I also don't know. So we paid someone to set it up, and then they just water just drain it. Yeah, I actually don't know. Yeah, I
All
actually
right.
but that's the whole point. And then the new city, there's a lot of arguments against this, but there's also argument for it. The concerns. Actually, let me go into the good points first. I like to start optimistically. So recent news about this, right? They already approve tax incentives. So for people who are not familiar, right, tax incentives are either used in all countries actually to stimulate investment in certain industries or countries or areas. So for Thailand or Singapore, for example, oh, I want to stimulate investment in data centers, then you give like tax breaks for like 10 years, 8 years. Or if the industry is important, but it's not really that big anymore, then maybe you give like 2 years incentives instead of five or more. Right? So what this Indonesian government did recently is that they has approved the incentives, and it's massive. It's like you can get the tax breaks between 10 and 30 years, which is really fucking long.
Mm.
It makes sense because they're like trying to build infrastructure, right? So if you come in to build infrastructure, you have like 30, 40 years of tax breaks. You come in to build the malls, bridges, financial institutions. You get all of this. Employees that work in these in certain priorities areas of the city of the new capital also don't really have to pay corporate income tax. They don't have to pay income tax as well or pay value added tax on certain import products. So they're really trying to stimulate this. And with all new things in life, right? Obviously, there's going to be problems, and but I think this is a good step in towards like making it happen. Because
Mm.
anything to add before I talk further?
No, I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an ambitious one, and I think I'll go into some of the concerns, right? So political issues. This is Jacoby's last term, so legally he cannot, because he's been the president for a few times now, so he cannot do it anymore after 2024, which kind of puts the project at risk. But then there's a law that prevents the new president to come in and like, oh fuck it, we're not doing it anymore and scrape all the projects, right? So there's a law in place to stop that. But the new president can still come in and like, oh, instead of making it a new capital as big as it is, then maybe the projects become smaller and all of that, right? So there's risk there. Some firms like SoftBank already withdrew the investment. So initially they were going to do it, but then they didn't. But other firms, I think the new capital got about 100 letters of intent to invest there. For people who are not familiar, letters of intent are like it's a letter, but it's non-binding. You can't really enforce it, but it's an indicator. Oh, I want to invest here, and this is what I want to do. I want to build this, and that. It's essentially like a brief agreement of what you want to do and how much and all of that, right? So there's already 100 letters of intent for Malaysia, US, China, I think South Korea, a few other countries. So it is good. Yeah, I think I had to
Mm.
spend a while on this, but I think it's such a good initiative that
Mm.
I'm excited to see if it succeeds or fails.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about the guys who. So the project is to move the capital from Jakarta to
Hmm.
Nusantara, right? I'm just
Yeah.
imagine you just live in Nusantara and then you're like, oh shit, my property
Ah,
price
yeah,
is
yeah,
gonna fucking skyrocket.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
How
yeah. So,
lucky are you?
so
And the
that's
people in Jakarta are like, shit.
yeah. So some of the concerns actually is from the business side. Jakarta, there's like, oh, Jakarta is still growing. You know, that's we have like five-star hotel being built and city's still growing and all that.
Yeah,
But but if I were a business there, I'll say the same thing too.
yeah, I'll be like,
Yeah,
dude, no, don't do it.
exactly. It's such a risky investment if you have like real
Yeah.
estate in Jakarta now.
Well, I
No.
feel like if okay, based on what this guy's saying, right? Like
Mm,
now like as a just as a like private investor, just like like a human, like a normal
Yeah,
person, right?
yeah.
I'm actually wondering if you'd wanna just throw some money into Nusantara on the bet that it's gonna actually pan out. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like you might be able like 20x, 10x your money. Although at this point, who knows? Maybe property pricing. Actually, I'm quite curious. Can you check property price in Nusantara? Has it like spiked since then?
but
Uh,
yeah. But there's issues on like environmental concern because they're building it in the forest. I think it's one of the largest forests they have in Indonesia, which is an environmental concern. But I don't think I don't think they care much. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think building the city is the top of the list, not preserving the forest, right? Yeah,
yeah, I would think so.
yeah,
It's sad, but yeah,
yeah.
that's basically
Sad,
it.
but yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they do it well, they can have like cities like Singapore where there's a lot of trees. I mean, if you want, yeah,
Mm,
like futuristic cities.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So the other one's a little darker stories. The Rohingya. So we might spend some time here, because yeah, I'll go to the article first and then I'll explain why that is. One sec. It's in this one. I think I might have the photos. Yeah. So for people who don't know, the Rohingya refugee camps are based in Bangladesh. But what started was that I think about 2000. Actually, let me explain what they are first. So the Rohingya is a minority group, originally from Myanmar. I think there's about 1 million of them, and they have always been looked down, prosecuted by the Myanmar government, the Myanmar government, and because they are very different from the normal population, they're Muslims, and the Myanmar people are not really Muslims. I think they might be Buddhists, if I'm correct, if I'm not wrong. And then in 2016 and 17, the government came in, and then they're like, let's just kick them out, and then it led to this systematic genocide where the women were raped, the men were killed, and all of that. Um, so there's a lot of migration from Myanmar to either Thailand and Bangladesh, which share the borders with Myanmar. Obviously, most went to Bangladesh, and now leads to I think one of the largest refugee camps in the world, might be the largest even. Um, and now the situation is quite bad. So you can see it in the image, right? That they kind of live in a camp like this, and it's a massive camp, and there's a lot of human trafficking or abduction, assassination, which is odd because I mean I don't know why you need to order assassination, but anyway, thief and all that, right? So now you can see that the article that we wrote, we can see that half of the funding, which is a lot, I didn't know it's close to 1 billion. Yeah, so half of this is not coming based on the UN. So a lot of people are really struggling to provide money there because some of the funding now is, I think some analysts say it's a fatigue where you've been funding it, but nothing's really improved. And then some of the money has to go to other social issues like Russia-Ukraine wars or the Afghanistan problems, right? Or things in the Middle East or things in Africa. So all of that. So that's why the concerns on this are lessened and people are jaded, I suppose. Yeah, what do you think about this so far?
That's quite sad, huh? That nothing
Mm,
changes. I wonder why nothing changes.
yeah, yeah, I actually thought of that. Yeah. Um,
Mm,
so because the Myanmar government kicked them out, so they actually have no citizens. So there's no solution I can think of because which country is going to take them? Because they technically don't really. I mean, Thailand's close to them. Bangladesh is also close to them, but then they don't really speak the language. So it's really hard for them to integrate any of this Rohingyan
mm,
refugees into societies.
yeah.
And then what? So are you going to give them land? I thought of it like, okay, if I were the government, how do I make use of this? They're not really voters of Thailand. If I were the prime minister, right? If I were to give them land, how do I make them useful? Like it's hard unless you partner with private companies and then turn most of them into laborers or some sort of admin jobs. But it's still hard.
I would think
Yeah.
laborers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I can't figure it out so because they can't go back to Myanmar.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah,
It is hard.
yeah, and then so you see a lot of issues like this, and then I had a guy from Rohingya camp himself. So he actually added me on Facebook, and then he's been asking for money as well. And I'm like, I think he's asking for like 2K USD. Yeah, so I'm trying to. So if anyone wants to support him, yeah, I guess you actually reach out to his lawyer. I'll actually list the name here now, but reach out to us as well so we can give more details. The lawyer is from the Victim International Advocate. The name is Claire Bowen. So this is the lawyer that sends money to the Rohingya camp because they obviously don't really have bank accounts and that because they're not citizens, right? So they do not have access. If they use internet, they actually get the Bangladesh SIM card to use the internet. Yeah, so quite a pretty awful experience to go through. And for copyright purposes, I can't show you a lot of photos, but I urge you to check some of the photos. And yeah, I think if you go look into some of the moves being made to tackle the crisis, is all talks like, oh, government and UN is gonna talk. International Court of Justice is considering Myanmar's genocide complaints. So the thing about social issues like this is that it takes a really fucking long to get anything done because you need to go through some sort of international court, and the international court will have like some sort of fact-finding mission. Like
Yeah, but the
subcommittee.
problem is like even if this international court rules in some way, right? Let's say they say Myanmar, you've done this is bad. Like, well, what's the punishment? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. So Lord, you're gonna put sanctions. I mean, they already. Yeah, so I don't think they can. It's just it's the military junta, right? They already broken the rules by overthrowing the government. So I don't think they care much about sanctions and all of that.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like,
yeah, and
wonder why.
yeah, because I attended some seminar about Rohingya crisis because I was interested, and then no one really had proper solutions. When I was listening to their stories, everyone would just kept urging, we need to keep urging the international governments and organizations to take actions. But it's hard. I mean, everyone has their own problems to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna you don't want to fuck with your own citizens, right?
Yeah.
Like, because if you take them in, great, but what do you do, right? It's all just going to take taxpayer dollars to house and to do all that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's difficult, actually.
Yeah. Unless you give them, like it's difficult. Like off the top of my head, right? You give them government-owned land, you build some sort of camp there, and then you start having some sort of facilities, but then they need to work for manufacturing factories nearby, and then maybe there's some benefits, and then in 10, 20 years, the children and grandchildren that can integrate the Thai society better, and then essentially can be granted Thai citizenship or whatever.
I mean, I suppose what like what you're saying, right? So you can, in the agreement would be, you take them in, the parents, the older people become laborers or something, so they'll earn enough to eat, and then the kids go to Thai school.
Yeah, exactly. And and then that's a good point. And then there'll be some counter arguments like, oh, but then their culture is not being preserved, they're being integrated. Because when I attended the seminar, some actually mentioned that because her family ran to Thailand, and then she had to study there, and then they had to adapt to Thai culture there. And then I'm like, isn't that whole point of surviving, right? I mean, obviously you can't expect the Thais to understand the Rohingya culture and stuff, right? Yeah, there's not a lot of.
By that reasoning, like during the Holocaust, the Jews a lot of them didn't renounce their faith. Isn't that the same kind of idea?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for survival, in a sense. I mean, I understand that the idea of preserving culture, but
how about I bet you, if these Rohingya people were white people, moves would have been made by now.
Oh yeah. Biden would have flown out, right?
And be like, hey, I got you, man.
Shake some hands and shit. Yeah. Because this is not going like 7 years. Yeah.
The other problem is nobody's doing well now. Everyone's struggling. Like recession's coming. Like we've got like everyone's got their own shit to deal with. Like, who wants to go and be like, fuck, okay, come, let's help some people out.
Yeah,
right now you gotta shore up and fix your own problems, and then you can maybe look to fix others. It's like that whole. I like to conceptualize this as the airplanes. They always recommend first make sure your oxygen mask is good, and then help
Yeah.
other people. Yeah, same
Yeah,
kind of idea.
exactly. So I hope that there would be like systematic ways for them to come out of
Mm.
it. But people will like manage to escape to like developed countries. They're like quite exceptional, right? But for the average people, how do you create a system that
Yep.
lead them to better
I had
lives?
that exact thought. Like the
Yeah,
rich people are obviously not gonna be here. The rich
yeah,
Rohingyans are gonna be somewhere
mm,
else enjoying life.
yeah. Like their children
You know.
like already like Canadian citizens. So I think one of the speakers is Australian already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, already done. Just flew here to speak, right, and then flew
Yeah.
back to Australia.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And then as an Australian citizen, that speaker can bring her parents in on
mm,
visas. It's just
mm,
shit like that. Like
yeah,
rich
yeah,
people got their own rules that they
yeah,
can set.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like the average people, man, yeah, it's tough. Like there's no one that figuring out how to do it. And just before I move on to another news, you can see that they only get so they have like World Food Program. Like it's very little. It's like $10 a month for food rations. I didn't even know you still have to pay shit in there, but yeah. Anyway, so for
Mhm.
anyone who is interested, I urge you to donate money if necessary and all of that.
Now, my
Now
question
moving,
to you is,
hmm.
if they donate money, where's the money going? Like,
Yeah,
does
yeah,
anybody know?
yeah. Like
Yeah.
with the guy who added me, right? I was so skeptical. Like, this could be a scam. Like, give me your lawyer's detail, organization's name. He wants to have a talk with me tomorrow, which I will. Because yeah, I want to see where this goes as well. Because
How
I
about
did,
you
I
offer to donate something if he comes on the podcast?
fuck me. It's kind of this is one of those scandalous, controversial
Yeah,
moves.
we're trying to scam each other. What?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a photographer, and I seen some of his photos because he took photos of like fires in the camp because there's a lot of fires there. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's quite real, but we'll see as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, before we run out of time, let's do the last news on the Australians. So, for quick context, right? Australia bought nuclear submarines. It's a deal with the US, and it looks simple, right? Oh, this is a normal transaction, but it's actually not. There's a lot of things going on when you buy submarines. So, Australia already has a deal. I think it's called AUKUS because it's a partnership with the US, but also with the UK, where they're supposed to share defense and security agreements, like all of that together. So buying the submarines is actually very complicated, because now Australia doesn't have the manpower and the know-how to operate the submarines that they're buying. So they have to rely on the US for that. And then this may lead to mixed crew, meaning that the submarine will have mixed nationalities. Like, oh, they have Australians, but they have the US as well, and then they have the British people as well. So this leads to like more reliance on the US, as we've written here, mixed decisions. Shit like, oh, okay, if we discover something that's like international concern, do we tell the Australian government first? Do we tell the American government? How do we make the
Hmm.
decision that, yeah, so it leads to shit like this. Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I think in the short term, it's not good for Australia,
Yeah.
but hopefully the plan is they'll teach Australians how to man these things. I
Yeah.
would hope. I would hope. But
I think I listed here that the nuclear program in Australia is very limited. So because they only have one nuclear power plant, I think, and then their uni only has let me see. Essentially, they only produce. Yeah, I listed here. So they only had one university program for nuclear engineering with 5 graduates per year. So there
jeez.
you go. There you go. I don't know if all of them will work in Australia, but that's your human capital right there. So
Yeah,
that's
5 a year.
yeah. I didn't know it's so tiny. Yeah. So it's a lot of reliance on the US. Yeah, and you can see the submarine requires 130 people, 15 officers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think more importantly, it will put Australia on China's hit list, which is also what I wrote. Because now like it's so they're buying it as a deterrent against China, as I think based on what the experts are saying, and it's a clear indication that the US, like all these three English speaking countries are partnering up, right, to
against China.
to strengthen themselves. US is
But the
fucking
problem
busy.
is Australia relies heavily on China for a lot of imports
That's correct.
and exports.
If we go into quick statistics, that's actually.
Because China has shown a willingness to fuck people over. Like Australia, they fucked Australia over.
Exactly. Like I think China likes to do that, right? Where like, we retaliate. Or I think either like minor shit with Taiwan where they ban certain fruits.
Yeah.
So I think I could see that happening. But then again, if you were Australia, who else could you partner with? It's the fellow white people, right?
Hey, that's not fair because now Australia is becoming more and more
Asians,
Asian.
more Asian.
Yeah. We are breeding.
The effects are not quite that.
Yeah.
But you can see for Australia, like you can see that for imports, it also takes mostly from China, and for exports, I assume it's China as well. Yeah, so the number is the highest for China. Let's see what the products are. Just out of curiosity, I assume it's wine. Yeah. Oh yes, minerals, meat, cereals. Okay. Anything else? So we move to the
No, but it's just interesting because what happened, right, is for the past 2 years, China has banned, had an unofficial ban on Aussie coal, right? And just earlier this year, they started purchasing Australian coal again. But now Australia does this. So the question is, right, maybe Australia has come to the decision that China needs them more than they need China. Do you know what I mean? Like why would they they pissed off China once? China stopped taking its coal, right? And now it's like fuck. But like it survived 2 years, obviously not great, but it survived, and now China's starting to buy it again. So the question is, does China need Aussie's coal, Australia's coal? Like, is this something we're not like? Do we need to think about this more? You know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming these Aussie people would have thought about it. So either like the US and UK are buying more from them, or they realize China can't do that. You know what I mean?
Because different. I don't know what type of ores it needs, but for sure, like electric vehicles, for example, would need nickel, all of that. I think no, not China. Australia does produce a lot of cobalt as well. But cobalt is led by Congo, and then following by like Australia. And that's for electric vehicles. So we need to see the supply chain. But I mean, if you are in the mining industry, it would be so nerve-wracking to like check all these fucking news.
You're like, shit, no.
It's like it's not up to them, right? It's a lot of shit is out of their control.
Yeah, but like in Australia, I would assume the mining companies, they tend to have a big sway with the government. Because I'm assuming they'll be the ones funding the various politicians and shit.
Lobbyists and all that.
Yeah. Which is where I think it gets a bit funny. Like democracy is a bit funny that way.
Yeah.
If people, but then money. I know it really does, right? Because like otherwise, how are politicians fighting each other? You know, they need to take money from people. When you take money, means you.
True. Because how else are you gonna win the election?
Yeah, exactly. You need to do advertising. You need to do all these things. So there's this idea where politicians, rather than taking money, if you choose to run, you're given X amount for campaign funding, and that's it. So then it evens the playing field. So bigger guys don't have more like cash to throw.
True. Because I think they only have the cap, but they don't. But the cap's pretty fucking high. Yeah. Anyway, now we moving on to our deep dive today, and today we're trying to tackle the problem of nursing homes in ASEAN and maybe the world, even if we have time. And the problem of nursing homes nowadays is that a lot of them feel like a prison rather than a home, which is a problem. And we're gonna look into how do we solve that and all of that. I think we will also go through some of the nursing home websites, show you what all their rooms are all about, right? But before that, we'll go into some of the context first. Mm, so everyone's entering aging society at one point. I think a lot of countries in ASEAN are not there yet, but Singapore's already there, Thailand as well. I have the stats. Oh no, I can't show it because it's on my other computer. But for example, Singapore is the most developed in ASEAN, so the age population is also the highest, and it's followed by Thailand at 12, Vietnam at 8, and then you have Malaysia at 7, and so on. Um, so the problem with aging society is that there's less people working, right? So there's less tax money. When there's less tax money, government can do less, and there's less economic growth. But that's besides the point. Uh, what we want to focus is on the nursing home, which everyone is probably going to go there at one point, or either you're rich enough to stay home, or you don't have enough money to go there. But some of us will probably go there. So we will look into the type of nursing homes and some of the examples of real practical examples of that. And feel free to jump in anytime, Joshua, while giving all this context. Yeah. So nursing homes have multiple types, and some of them will call it assisted living, but essentially you have residential care where you stay there at their properties. So either at a hospital, so some hospital will have like old people section. I know there's a fancy term for it, but I can't remember. So I'm like, I dare not to say it. And then there's like standalone providers, and then there's government ones. So those are the type of residential care where you either stay there for a day, like daycare, but for adults, and your kids or whoever come pick you up, bring you home. But there's also stay there permanently. So this one is generally more expensive, where you pay like a massive amount of money. Like for example, I think some could go up to a few million, right? You pay it, you essentially own the room until you die, I guess, and then you have all the facilities and all that. And on top of that, you pay the monthly price of like rent and other stuff. So there's a lot of costs. Obviously, government ones are cheaper. We'll go through some of that as well. And that's the residential care. Meanwhile, home care is when you hire medical professionals to look after your elderly at home, or if you're not elderly, you could be disabled or you just can't take care of yourself, then that's for home care. Yeah. Anything else before I move on?
Nope.
Okay.
All
yeah.
good.
Now, obviously, the advantages of nursing homes is very simple. You have people who care for you, and medical care. They check on you daily, see if you're still living by and all of that. And then you have more interaction with fellow elderly, I guess. And then you have hospital care, foods. So that's the benefits. But the disadvantages is that it's very expensive, as I will show you next. And this is where the problems that we're trying to solve. You also have a loss of independence. Because imagine 30, 40 years you've been living your life independently, for the most of us, have your career, have purposes. And then I think one guy says it best based on the book that I read about nursing homes. So let me see if I can get the quote correctly. Yeah, he said that old age is a continuous series of losses. It's such a pessimistic way of viewing. Yeah, yeah. So it's just a series of losses, and that links to my point. Like, nursing home, you generally lose your independence. Your rooms are cookie cutter, same as the others, unless you pay for more expensive rooms. You lack privacy, especially for people who pay for the share room. And then, well, most rooms are shared anyway because the private ones are expensive. And then you have like structured time for medical checkups, which means that your routine is based on the hospital or the nursing home. And this leads to an interesting question where it becomes like repair of health or maintenance of health rather than enhancing health and well-being, as we often do in our own homes, right? Where we try to make our lives better. I think Joshua, you and I, we were quite young, so I think that's exactly what we're doing, right? Where we're enhancing our life rather than just repairing or maintaining it. Yeah, so that's some of the disadvantages. But then quality of care is also different depending on facility, lack of privacy, And then lastly, this is more in Asia even, where there's stigma regarding using nursing homes, right? Where it seems like, oh, you're getting abandoned there. Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add about nursing homes? Would you go there yourself?
I hope to be wealthy enough that I don't have to.
Yeah.
That's my hope. But if the worst case, I would. Because it's also good. Like you hang out with people there as well, right?
Yeah.
You can make friends and.
Yeah, I seen some expensive one. Looks pretty fucking nice. I mean, I don't mind hanging out with like 80-year-old you or like
No,
70
but like
years.
it might be nice for the first 2 months. Then
Mm,
it just kind of gets the same, doesn't it?
yeah.
Like it's the
Yeah,
same thing
that's
day in day out. People just get sick of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's why we will try to solve
Maybe
awful.
that's the thing. You have like 6 different nursing homes, and then at like different locations, and you rotate people through.
Oh, yeah.
That would get rid of the whole like scenery issue, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or you do like a daycare, which sounds so challenge, but yeah, I didn't know that there's daycare for like
Hmm.
old people, right? Like
Yeah,
the
it's the
kids
same
is
idea
bigger.
like kids, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
working
just
people, kids, older parents. The
yeah,
same idea. You just send them
yeah,
to daycare.
yeah, exactly. It's such a weird thing, but yeah, for me, I don't mind going there. I mean, but same as you, I hope to stay in my own house. But what I hoped, like what I envision of how I would die is that I play games. Like I'm old, I'm retired, I have money to pay for the daycare or like nursing homes, and then I just have a private room where I customize the shit out of it to be like a gaming room. And then I just wake up, get medical check, see if I can play games still, and then I just fucking play games, and then I'll die there. That's the dream.
Do you not think you feel very bored after a certain point in time? Like games are fun
Uh,
for me. Like
uh,
I can play games for a while, but like after a certain point, you just kind of get, yeah.
uh. I
You don't
mean,
think so for you?
there's different genres and it's similar to books even. So certain games that are story driven, you
Mm,
feel like you in a you in a novel. Obviously, you control the actions and all of that, but I feel that way, and it can be quite refreshing depending on the
mm,
genre. Yeah, but if it's competitive games, I think yeah, I get what you mean. You might get jaded after a while.
mm.
Mhm. And yeah, now we'll look into some of the nursing homes. So if you want to show some, then you can as well. I'm showing some in Thailand first. So this one is called the senior. We would get copyright for this, but we're essentially promoting them. This one is in Thai. Let me find some in English.
Wait, are they like happy ending nursing homes?
Mm, what do you mean happy endings?
Have you ever heard of a happy ending massage?
I mean, I heard of that.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I don't know about that, man.
You know, I was reading this article
Yeah,
that was saying that elderly people, so the guys in nursing homes,
yeah.
they are having issues with STD transfer.
STD?
So old people are just smashing each other.
Fuck. Huh. I mean, you gotta admit it at some level that they like they don't care how they look. They just want to have sex, I guess.
I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Like that's just to
yeah.
me that's like, whoa, okay.
Mm.
All power to you, man. Like
Yeah,
shit.
looking forward to that. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I will show you some of the next. Okay, for this one, you can see right that the rooms are the rooms looks exactly the same and it's in Thai, which is fine, but it looks exactly the same, which is the problem. And then this one is the chat room, as you can see, where there's like a curtain, right? But then on the
Mm,
other side, just another dude or woman.
guy, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the cheaper one. And then the price, show you the price. Mm, oh, I can Google Translate this. This is what I want. So this rate, let me translate that into Singapore dollar, which is 25. It's about $1,000 a month. But for
Mm,
context, right, it's this is about 1.5 times undergrad salary. This is about double the undergrad salary. So this is quite expensive. You can see single room is it's even more expensive. And then there's a lot of added costs, right? There's physical service fee. That shit's not free. So if you want to go to some sort of physical therapy, or you pay extra. So they make more money from that. Yeah. Obviously the senior healthcare here is more for like rehab as well for physical therapy. So there's things added this. And then I'll show you like one or two more places, and then we'll go through the solutions. And then the thing that I don't like is that everyone dressed like a fucking patient.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I mean, that's
I mean, how do you go have sex with each other when you're dressed like patients? Right?
Yeah, you're not your best self, I guess. Yeah, exactly. That's some of the disadvantages that we listed out earlier. It's a loss of independence, not just the way you used to live, but it's like you being enforced to do all this shit, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously it's nice, and yeah, it's still I don't personally. If I were an old person, I don't like this. And this is the fancier one. Let me show you the government-owned one. Government-owned. I see the website. It just this is the government-owned one. It's let me translate it to English. I'm trying to find the images, but there's not a lot of them. So this is the government-owned one, and then it's quite bad in the sense that there's not a the government-owned one is even more awful. There's no photos. It's all right. But even then, you still need to pay like a lump sum. Essentially, you need to save up certain amount of money to pay the lump sum to get that. Yeah, and it kind of looks like there's not a lot of people give a shit and all of that. Yeah, I think this is the cheaper ones. Let me find you the last one before we go to the solution. This is in the US. Sorry, my cat kicks me. Never mind. I'll go through another Taiwan. Yeah. So the point remains, right? Everywhere, even the smaller ones, you can't customize your rooms and stuff. Oh yeah, this is the point that I was trying to make as well. You share the room with other, people.
It's kind of like you're in a hospital, basically.
Yeah. That exactly, and there's a more fancy one. I haven't found the name, but some of the fancy ones you can. I'll stop sharing screen. Some of the fancy ones that you can have a private room. You can have certain level of customization, but it's still quite shit. Yeah. So now we'll go into the solutions. What do you think? How would you go on with this?
I was suggesting my rotation thing. So you buy into like you have like 6 different places and then you rotate. Because like people will feel very sick of it if they are there for like 6 months at a time and no change. Same as just cycle through. But I mean that wouldn't work for certain patients, right? Like transporting old people is hard as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to do it, I think, for older people, right? Most of the time they just want company.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what they want.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the loss of independence, as I said, is the biggest issue. I mean, cost matters, but I think when you get to that age, you probably save up some money and you can probably afford one shape or form of nursing home if necessary. But that brings me to another point where there's a book. Shit. I'm trying to quote a book, but I didn't jot the name. Let me see. Being Mortal. Yeah, so the book is called Being Mortal. It's from 2014, and what it does is that it investigates the problems that we're talking about now about nursing homes and how to improve it. Because as I said, it feels like a prison. And what they do is that there's a few nursing homes that are doing really well, and because they have this concept like, instead of a room that lacks customization, you have a private apartment. So each tenant so they did experiments on this. So each tenant has a private apartment outfitted with a bathroom, kitchen, and front door that's locked, so it feels like a home. And then they can choose their own furniture and all of that. And they allow to have pets and guests as they please, so they can choose to have their own food, and control over like that temperature and all of that shit, which is really basic, right, for us because we have full control of all of that now. But for
Mm.
those people, that's the basic stuff that
But based on what you're saying, that sounds very expensive.
yeah, I guess the sheep one you can help. So now there's another model where the sheep one is that they bought pets and like birds or pets, plants, and then they have all of those in all the floors. And then these old people could interact with this. So that gives them
Well,
like
here's my question to you.
uh
So in all these situations when we're talking about nursing homes, right?
yeah.
Almost always it's like I get the feeling they've created it like a set of apartments,
Hmm.
right? And that's because they normally do it somewhere central-ish.
Hmm.
Maybe that's because the old people their like children are close by, so they just want to be close by to them, right? But
Hmm.
like if you can take them out of a city, you can do a lot more interesting things at a much lower cost.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's
like
true.
imagine you could have like a farm, and then there's like a communal living style thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like imagine like because one of the things I feel old people, like you said, independence, right?
Hmm.
What if like everyone has a role, right? Like this old guy, he's here today, he's got to clear the poop of everybody
Hmm.
and put it away. That's his job. He's got a job. If he doesn't do
Hmm.
it, nobody else does it. You know what I mean? Like stuff like
Like
that. Like
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
like responsibilities. Like you've got to contribute, and it's like a community sort of thing. You know, I
Really
thought that
good.
might be quite nice.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the book actually mentioned what you said. That's one of the solutions as well. Where, they in charge of doing something. Yeah. So that's one of the solutions that could help because even though it seems very minor to us, right? But then for them, it's just purpose
Yeah, no, I
to
completely
live
get
on.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Because they I think three poems on the list is boredom, loneliness. The other one I can't remember. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm. And yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like, some of the nursing homes or assisted living they located in the mountain or like popular tourist areas in Thailand, like Chiang Mai or Phuket or one of the islands. Obviously, it's harder to visit them, but I think quality of life is much better, cheaper as well. Yeah.
mm.
Mm-mm. Anything else?
No.
Okay, let me check. Yeah, but I think I like the idea. Obviously, operationally, it's different, right? Okay, if you have pets, plants, what about people who are allergic to those? And I mean, you got to sort that out. But I feel like in terms of budget, it can be done. They just choose not to do it because bringing pets is not too bad, I suppose, if you
Mm.
let the older people be in charge of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair, right? You tell them, all right, if you're able to handle your own pet, you can
Mm,
have a pet. If
yeah.
you can't, then you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
I
that's fair.
like and the customized room and all of that. Yeah, because I guess the cheaper ones may not have that option, but
Mm.
still, yeah. Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, man. I think this is a very relevant topic because we have an aging population, so
Hmm.
old age care is going to become a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And I think I wonder if there should be a policy on that, but there's no such thing as. I only know that then, for example, it's in Thailand or Southeast Asia, you need like a license to operate it, and it meets certain standards and all of that. But there's no deeper guidelines about all of this, right? So everyone's just
Yeah.
kind of yeah, it's a sad reality, sadly. But I mean, on a side note, because I grew up with my grandparents, so I see like the decline of their health as I grow up, as I grew
Mm-hmm.
up. Especially my grandmother was like bedridden now, and then we didn't want to pay for. I mean, we did pay for the home care, but then my grandmother didn't like that because it's like some fucking stranger just roaming around, sitting and reading book is kind of weird. Yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
she didn't like that. Nursing home was also kind of expensive, even for us. Even though I work abroad, which I could pay per month, but it's still hard for her to do it. Yeah. So now all
Mm.
this is kind of I think my mother and grandfather just kind of take care of her, but it's a lot on them. So yeah. So I'm just trying to show that if nursing homes have better services, reputation about taking care of their patients, then we can alleviate this, problem as well in societies. So instead of my mother who have to quit her job to take care of my grandmother along with grandfather, and they have to bring her constantly to the hospital. I think they've been going to the hospital like every month, sometimes more than that, because grandma just like starts vomiting blood or some shit. So yeah. So it's this type of inefficiency that can be alleviated with the right type of nursing homes. Yeah, just a side note. Actually, that's really interesting. Now I want to go deeper into the details. I think that's more for like B2B side that we thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else
No,
before we
I think
conclude?
we call it here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then thank you for listening to us as always. So we have a Substack page that you can follow. The Substack page summarizes the news worldwide and then ASEAN news as well. And obviously weekly we do a live video like this where we talk about major news and some of our thoughts. But besides that, we also tackle some of the bigger issues in societies, like nursing homes today. I think we tackle it pretty quickly, but yeah, it's not a major deal. I think there's a lot of topics out there like death penalty. How do you like in ASEAN, right? A lot of people here support death penalty, the governments as well, but in countries like Scandinavia, they have the Nordic model where they believe that people can be changed. The prison has a necessary support system to turn them from this shit criminals into better men and women, become productive members of societies. So some of those are really interesting to us, and we'll tackle all this as we go along in future episodes. Yeah, but for now, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I just sent you the. Why am I getting a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? What do I do?